I had always dreamed of living in a college dorm, picturing late-night study sessions, new friendships, and the thrill of independence. But from the moment I stepped into Bradford Hall, something felt off. It wasn't anything obvious at first, just a strange weight in the air, a silence that seemed too heavy for a place filled with students. The building itself was old, much older than I had expected, with creaky wooden floors and dimly lit hallways that stretched too long, like they belonged to a different era. My assigned room, 312, was at the very end of the hallway. As soon as I unlocked the door and stepped inside, I felt a strange chill crawl up my spine. The air smelled stale, like something had been trapped inside for too long. The walls were a dull beige, the furniture basic. A wooden desk, a small bed, and a closet that stood slightly ajar, its darkness seeming deeper than it should have been. My roommate, Ethan, had already arrived. He was sitting on his bed, scrolling through his phone, barely acknowledging me as I dragged my suitcase inside. "You're the new guy?" he asked without looking up. I nodded, setting my bag down. "Yeah, Chris." Ethan finally met my eyes, and for a second I thought I saw something strange in his expression, like hesitation, or maybe pity. "Look, man, if you hear anything weird at night, just ignore it." I frowned. "Weird? Like what?" He sighed, rubbing his temple. "Just noises. You'll see." Before I could ask anything else, he put on his headphones and turned away, effectively ending the conversation. That night, I couldn't sleep. It wasn't because of jet lag or first-day nerves. There was something wrong sense with the room. The silence wasn't normal. It was the kind of silence that felt like it was listening. Every now and then, I thought I heard faint scratching, like fingernails against wood. But every time I held my breath and listened, it stopped. At around 3:12 I woke up suddenly. I wasn't sure what had woken me until I saw the closet door. It was open. Not wide open, just slightly, but I was sure I had closed it before going to bed. A slow creak echoed through the room. My heart pounded as I turned my head toward Ethan's bed, expecting him to be awake. But he was fast asleep, his face turned toward the wall. The room felt colder than before. The air felt wrong. I told myself it was just my imagination. Maybe I hadn't closed the closet all the way. Maybe the old dorm just had weird noises. I squeezed my eyes shut and forced myself back to sleep. The next morning, as we were getting ready for class, I casually mentioned the closet door to Ethan. His hands froze over his notebook for just a second before he continued writing. "You closed it, right?" he asked without looking at me. "Yeah, but when I woke up, it was open." Ethan's jaw tensed. He didn't say anything for a moment. Then quietly he muttered, "Don't ever sleep with it open." I stared at him. "Why?" He finally looked at me, and for the first time, I saw fear forward in his eyes. "Just don't." I should have listened. The next few nights were uneasy. I kept telling myself that the strange feeling in the dorm was just my imagination, that I was still adjusting to a new place. But the air inside, room 312, felt heavy, like something unseen was always there, watching. The scratching noises didn't stop. Some nights, they were faint, almost distant, but other nights, they were unmistakable, like something inside the walls was trying to claw its way out. Ethan barely spoke to me. He acted normal around other people, laughing in the dining hall, chatting in the common area, but the moment we were alone in our room, he became quieter, almost withdrawn. It was like he was waiting for for something one night around 2:45 am. I woke up suddenly, my throat dry, an eerie chill in the room. The closet door was open again, just a few inches. My stomach dropped. I knew I had closed it. I stared at the dark space between the door and the frame. My breath caught in my chest. The closet was deep, much deeper than I had initially realized, and the darkness inside it felt unnatural, like a void rather than a small enclosed space. As I sat up in bed, I thought I saw something. A shape, a movement, just barely out of sight. A whisper, faint, almost like a breath against my ear. Leave. I jerked away, my heart slamming against my ribs. My eyes darted to Ethan. He was lying in bed, completely still, facing the wall. I wanted to wake him, to ask if he had heard anything. But a strange feeling held me back. Something told me not to move. Then I noticed something even worse. Ethan wasn't breathing, at least not in any way I could hear. His body was still too still, like a mannequin, rather than a sleeping person. I felt a sudden, overwhelming urge to check if he was alive, but just as I reached out, a loud bang shattered the silence. The closet door had slammed shut. Ethan gasped, sitting upright so fast it was unnatural. He turned to me, his eyes wide with terror, his breathing ragged. For a moment, we just stared at each other, and I knew he had felt it too. Neither of us said anything. The next morning, Ethan left early and didn't come back until late. I didn't see him in class, and when I finally ran into him in the hallway that evening, he looked exhausted, like he hadn't slept in days. You saw it, didn't you? His voice was hollow. I swallowed hard. I don't know what I saw. Ethan glanced around, making sure no one else was listening. It watches from the closet, he whispered. It doesn't like when you notice it. A chill ran through me. What the hell is it? Ethan shook his head. No one knows, but you can't look at it directly. And whatever you do, don't let the closet stay open at night. His words stayed with me long after he walked away. That night I double-checked the closet door, making sure it was shut tight. But even then, as I lay in bed, I could feel it, the weight of something unseen pressing against the air, something just behind that door. And then, just as I was about to fall asleep, I heard the slow, deliberate creak of the door opening. The sound of the closet door creaking open sent a sharp chill through my body. I froze, gripping my blanket so tightly, my knuckles turned white. I wanted to believe it was just my imagination, that maybe the old hinges had loosened, or a draft had pushed it open. But deep down I knew the truth. It was watching. I forced myself to turn my head, my heart pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. The door was open wider this time, much wider than before. The darkness inside looked deeper than it should have been, stretching into something unnatural. Then I saw it. A shape, a shadow. Not quite human, not quite solid. It was standing just inside the closet, barely distinguishable from the darkness. But I could feel it staring at me. I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. The air was thick, suffocating. Then suddenly, Ethan sat up in his bed, his face pale, his eyes wide with terror. "Don't move," he whispered. My body felt paralyzed. I wanted to run, to hide, but something about his voice made me stay completely still. The shadow in the closet didn't move either. It was waiting. Then Ethan did something I didn't expect. He reached under his pillow and pulled out a small, battered notebook. With shaking hands, he flipped through the pages and muttered something under his breath. I couldn't hear what he was saying, but his voice was trembling. A sudden gust of cold air rushed through the room, making my skin prickle. The shadow shifted, almost like it was reacting to Ethan's words. Then, in an instant, the closet door slammed shut on its own with a force so strong that the wall shook. Ethan exhaled sharply, his whole body shaking. "You saw it, didn't you?" His voice was barely above a whisper. I nodded, my throat too dry to speak. He tossed the notebook onto my bed. "Read it." My hands trembled as I picked it up. The cover was scratched and faded, and inside, the pages were filled with handwritten notes, sketches, and newspaper clippings. I flipped through them, trying to make sense of it. And then I saw a photo, a grainy, old picture of a boy, about our age, standing in front of this dorm. His name was Daniel Carter, and according to the newspaper clipping beside the photo, he had lived in room 312. He had been found dead in the closet. My stomach dropped. I scanned the article desperately, my pulse racing. The report said Daniel had gone missing for days, and when they finally found him, his body was twisted unnaturally, his mouth frozen in a silent scream. The weirdest part? There were no signs of forced entry, no injuries, nothing. It was like something had taken him from the inside. I looked up at Ethan, my hands shaking. This was his room? Ethan nodded. And he wasn't the only one. He flipped to another page. More photos, articles, missing person reports. Every single one was connected to this dorm, to room 312. "They never talk about it," Ethan whispered. "The school covers it up, but people disappear from this room, and the ones who don't, they start seeing it." I felt sick. "Seeing what?" Ethan swallowed hard. "The thing in the closet." I gripped the notebook tighter. "What does it want?" Ethan shook his head. "No one knows, but I think it chooses who stays and who disappears." He looked at me, his expression dark. "And now, it's noticed you." A sharp bang interrupted us. We both turned our heads toward the closet. The door was slowly creaking open again. Ethan and I stared at the closet door as it creaked open, inch by inch. The darkness inside was thick, like a solid void, swallowing the dim light of the room. My breath hitched as a wave of icy air spilled out, raising goosebumps all over my skin. Ethan grabbed my arm, his grip tight. "We have to get out," he whispered, but I couldn't move. Something was inside the closet. And this time, it wasn't just a shadow. A hand. Long, thin fingers, unnaturally stretched, pale, and almost a bone-like mushed die, he curled around the edge of the door. My chest tightened, every instinct screaming at me to run, but I was halshtaish, frozen. Then a face peeked out. It wasn't human, not really. Its features were distorted now, like a warped reflection in shattered glass. Eyes too wide, mouth stretched too far. And it was for smiling. A horrible, twisted grin that sent a jolt of raw terror through me. Ethan let out a sharp gasp. "Don't look at it," he hissed, but it was too late. The thing lunged The room hull exploded into chaos. The lights flickered violently, the walls trembled, and the closet door slammed shut with a deafening bang. I stumbled back, gasping, my heart hammering against my ribs. Ethan was already grabbing his bag. "We have to leave." "Now." I didn't argue. I snatched my phone, my wallet, anything within reach, and ran toward the door. Ethan yanked it open, and we bolted high into the hallway. The dorm was eerily quiet, The fluorescent lights buzzed softly above us, flickering just enough to make everything feel wrong. We ran down the hallway, my pulse pounding in my ears. I could still feel it, something sogus, following us, its presence pressing down on my back like cold hands. We turned a corner and nearly crashed into a resident advisor. Whoa, slow down, he frowned at us. What's going on? Ethan and I looked at each other, struggling to find the words. But how do you explain something like that? Before we could say anything, the advisor's radio crackled to life. Emergency in room 312, a voice said. I went ice cold. Ethan grabbed my wrist. We have to go. But my legs wouldn't move. Hey, you too, the advisor started, but his voice cut off. As a cut scream door echoed down the hallway, it came from Hadar room. A scream so high, so distorted, it didn't sound human. The lights above us burst, plunging the whole way into darkness. Something was coming. I turned to run, but the air around us shifted. A crushing, suffocating force, as if the walls themselves were closing in. I heard Ethan gasp, felt his grip rip away from me, and then silence. I spun around. Ethan was gone. Just gone. I stood there panting, my chest tight with panic. Ethan? My voice cracked. I reached out, feeling blindly in the darkness. Nothing. Then, from the far end of the hallway, I heard something. Footsteps, slow, deliberate, coming toward me. I backed away, my entire body shaking. The air grew heavier, thick with the scent of something rotten. Then I heard it. A whisper. Low, twisted. It's your turn. I ran. I don't remember much after that. Just the feeling of falling. My vision, blurring. The world around me twisting into something dark and cold. When I woke up, I was in the campus infirmary. The school told me I had been found unconscious outside the dorm, my body ice cold, my pulse barely there. They asked me about Ethan, but Ethan was never found out. No records of him ever existing. His bed, empty. His belongings, gone. Like he had never been there at all. Room 312 was sealed off the next day. No explanations, no warnings. Just a quiet announcement that the room was under maintenance. I know the truth. You're still there, waiting, watching. And I know someday it'll come for Smilius too.